Hello, Sacha. How are
Very
you?
welcome, Margaret.
Right, are you in
Real quick,
Sydney?
uh,
You in Joburg? You're in
Cape
LA?
Town.
Get
and
down.
This is really a movie about the perversion of justice. Why was it important for you to be part of this film now?
Well, I've been obsessed by this movie and by this character since my 20s. I learned about Abbie Hoffman when I was writing my undergraduate thesis about Jewish involvement in the Black civil rights movement in the 60s. Abbie was one of these Jewish radicals who risked their lives by fighting against racism and going down to the South. And he later went on to protest the Vietnam War. So I've been passionate about playing Abbie Hoffman for decades now. I found out that Steven Spielberg was going to make this movie 13 years ago, and I called him up and said, I want to play this role. And I went through a complicated audition process and eventually got the role. And Aaron Sorkin was the writer at the time. And I didn't want to let this role go. So I've been trying to keep it. And then when Aaron Sorkin became the director, I asked my agent, is there any way that I could play a role in this movie? And Aaron came back and said, I want him to play Abbie. So it was an amazing journey, really. I remember being there on this first day and still being completely unprepared.
Last time we spoke about your PhD concentration. So we've had that discussion, but it also made me wonder. Abbie was super smart, but also very funny. And I wondered if your alter ego, Borat, helps you to say things that you want to on a political front that maybe Sacha cannot.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. I've always been reluctant to be a celebrity, to tell people my political opinions and, encourage them to think a certain way. A year ago, actually, just after filming Chicago 7, I gave the first speech as myself at the Anti-Defamation League about the dangers of misinformation and conspiracies on the net. And actually, I was inspired by Abbie because when Abbie's on trial, he speaks as himself and he's not the prankster, he's not the clown. And he talks about the real issues at stake and the perversion of justice that's going on in that courtroom. And yes, I used Borat and Ali G and the characters I did with Who is America to expose things that I was concerned about, and then eventually, in the last year, I've started using my own voice very reluctantly because I felt that too much was at stake in the election of 2020.
One of the things that Abbie is a master of is media manipulation. How good are you at using the media to get what you want? Because it's a double-edged sword.
Yes, well, as an actor, as somebody who makes movies, one important thing that you do is a marketing campaign. And I remember the initial marketing campaign for Borat, and the studio, this was an obscure movie about an anti-Semitic journalist from a foreign country, and it was a documentary. So why would they spend any money on it? And I realized I had to be ingenious. And so what I decided to do there was to rely on a type of theater that I'd learned in my youth, which was called the bouffon, which is where it's a form of satire, essentially. And by pretending to be the real voice of Kazakhstan, even though Borat's Kazakhstan is a completely mythical character, it led the movie to be a lot bigger because the real country of Kazakhstan, that is a million miles away from Borat's Kazakhstan, then they did their own marketing campaign about Kazakhstan. And it actually made the movie a much bigger thing than it would have been. So, yes, like Abbie, you know, Abbie realized that there's no purpose in the political protest unless the cameras are rolling. And he was using stunts and he was using humor to drive awareness of these issues. You know, he was the only one, and I think Aaron Sorkin does this brilliantly, who realized that the trial itself was a farce. But the importance of the trial was that they would be able to get into the living rooms of Americans and convince them that this was an unjust war. And the incredible success of Abbie was that he succeeded. You know, he went to jail, but he succeeded in turning the minds and hearts of America against the Vietnam War.
It's such an important movement that he was able to support there. And I think the things that you're doing are just as important. So
that's very kind.
I look forward to hearing more of your own voice.
All right. Well, love to everyone in South Africa. I love that country.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. See you. Bye.